Turns out I really enjoyed making that wholesome anime video because it let me talk about some shows that I normally wouldn't have full videos on. Truth be told, there is a lot that I watch and either have to drop or just feel like I've wasted my time on. That's not to say that these shows are bad. They're usually very good, and I want to do them justice. I just don't think I can do it in a 8 to 10 minute video. Thus, I want to start making more of these kinds of videos because it's fun. It gives you a lot of options, and admittedly buys me some time to work on the much longer videos. This time, I want to talk about something very different than what I normally do. Some South Korean shows and movies, all available on Netflix, as they're all Netflix originals, that are all just really fucking good. I don't know what South Korea's been on, but they've been pumping out some quality stuff. You may have seen that with stuff like Parasite, Train to Busan, Snowpiercer, Old Boy, like the Revenge trilogy, just all good. And if you haven't looked deeper, make now the time you do that. If you're wondering why this mostly anime channel is suddenly talking about live action Korean shows, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know why I'm doing it either, outside of they're really good. Also, fair warning, I know very little about Korean language or culture, so not even gonna attempt any of the Korean names because I will fuck them up. So we're just not gonna do it. We're gonna highlight 2 shows and 2 movies because that's what I felt like doing. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Sweet Home is, I'm just gonna say, the only good true horror series that I've ever seen. After watching it, I had to think in retrospect about shows like The Walking Dead, that Exorcist series, the anime I talked about in my own horror anime video. Well, they're still good. Maybe not The Walking Dead anymore. But they never hit that actual horror vibe that a good horror movie gives you, in my opinion. And that's understandable. It's easier to drag out the feeling of a thriller for 12 to 14 episodes than a true horror story. That being said, Sweet Home is the only show I've seen that actually did it. Everything about this show is stunning. The creature designs are awesome, unique, and legitimately creepy. The sets are intricate and look more like overly detailed miniatures than real-life rooms at times. The cinematography is gorgeous, with obvious vibes of that classic Italian horror with the brightly colored gels, bathing scenes, and otherworldly light. And it's a very unique take on the zombie-esque hysteria-style story that will keep you hooked and wondering who's gonna turn next. Interestingly, it shares its name with a Japanese horror movie from the 80s that was then turned into a Famicom game and later slated to be remade for the PlayStation. However, Capcom lost the rights to the movie, and that game later became Resident Evil. Why do I bring this up? Because I think this is a better adaptation of Resident Evil than any of the actual Resident Evil movies. Taking place in a towering apartment complex, the constant claustrophobic corridors and rooms contrast with the sprawling nature of the building and accompany its unkillable monstrous residents to create a feeling that was extraordinarily reminiscent of wandering the Spencer estate in the first Resident Evil. Or perhaps more aptly, the Baker estate in Resident Evil 7, as there's just kind of shit everywhere. Seriously, just a 10 out of 10 show. If you like horror, you'll love it. Every monster is stunningly bizarre and disturbing in its own unique way. Absolutely love it. What starts off seeming like a Buffy-esque Monster of the Week show, involving evil spirits possessing murderers, rapidly becomes a massive political and criminal conspiracy mystery that just so happens to involve 2 superpowered Grim Reapers tasked with sending the aforementioned evil spirits back to the afterlife. The show is awesome, and just pure and total fun. If you like anime, which I think is a safe assumption on this channel, then you will certainly like this show. Especially if you like shonen battle stuff, because there's some wild anime shit near the end. Whether you come in for the action, the story, or the characters, all 3 aspects form such an enjoyable trifecta that you'll be there for all 3 by the end. The counters are all fun and likable, and it's obvious to see how much they care for one another, and you will end up caring just as much for each of them. I will warn you, this show is 16 episodes. each one being a little over an hour, meaning that the show is as long as approximately 4 seasons of anime. However, it is more than worth every single moment you put into it, as you will leave feeling like you did watch about 4 seasons of anime and still want more. Also, I'm not gonna lie, the fact that it was so long and that I spent so much time on it was part of the reason that I was like, I have to make this video now, because that was 4 potential videos that I just spent watching a show. Also, the soundtrack kicks ass and the theme will never fail to pump you up every time it kicks in. Come for the Buffy vibes, stay for the House of Cards story. You won't regret it. Based on a webtoon, I'll be quite honest, the story of Space Sweepers ain't that special. It's another magical child MacGuffin story where our ragtag team of criminals ends up loving the child by the end. However, what Space Sweepers does incredibly well is the designs. I am a huge sucker for industrial space settings. No, I don't mean warehouses. I'm talking about the Cowboy Bebop, Alien, Dead Space, and Firefly style, big bulky ships with shit everywhere, grimy space stations, and slap together components indicating that everything in this world is meant to do exactly its job and nothing else. And Space Sweepers oozes that vibe out of every pore. And with so much impeccable CG work that it's sometimes hard to forget that they're not actually in space. Oh, okay, that one might be an exaggeration, but it's good nonetheless. The movie also carries a strong Eat the Rich vibe, with Trevor Belmont's voice actor playing a wonderfully insane moral eugenics villain. Shit like hearing that there's a non-citizen tax when citizenship isn't something you're born with, or can choose to opt into, or can be stripped away from you, gives you those perfect little anti-corporate world-building moments that really flesh out the universe surrounding an otherwise unremarkable story. That's not to say that the story is bad or that you won't love the characters. You probably will. They're all great. Just that it's not really anything new. Space Sweepers also takes the Snowpiercer method of having many different people speaking all sorts of different languages, thanks to translator devices making it easy for everyone to understand one another. This does admittedly lead to some pretty stilted acting when anyone speaks anything other than Korean, except Richard Armitage. He really kills this role. Bottom line, whatever story, perfect visuals. I mainly watched for the pretty lights, and I was not disappointed in the slightest. Alright, this one is pretty tricky to talk about because comparing it to anything would give away its amazing story and twists and turns that it takes you on. The very basics of the plot are that a 21-year-old boy moves into a new house with his family. All seems well and good, except the weird noises coming from a room that they're told not to enter. One night, his perfect brother gets kidnapped and is gone for 19 days. Once he returns, however, he suddenly seems very different. The rest of the story you'll have to unfold for yourself, as I refuse to give away anything more. You're just gonna have to take my word on the fact that this film is tense, heavy, suspenseful, and, most importantly, amazing. I really wish I could say more, I swear, but please listen to me on this one and put it at the top of your list for your next movie night. You will not regret this. Since I had to be a little skimpy on that last one, I guess it's time for bonus time! I hate myself. Because apparently I need to do this every time I make one of these videos. No, it's not another manga, or even a manhwa. It's a French series. What am I doing? Lupin dans l'ombre d'Arsène, I took it high school French, thank you very much, is a French Netflix original show about Assane Diop, the son of a Senegali refugee framed for stealing a priceless necklace. Assane grows up reading the stories of Arsène Lupin, the famous gentleman thief who you may recognize as the persona for P5's Joker and the grandfather of anime classic Lupin III. Enveloping himself in these stories, Assane grows up to become a modern-day Lupin, and is finally attempting to get answers for what happened to his father. If you love heist movies like the Ocean series or are missing The Great Pretender, this should most certainly be your next stop. Each episode is elaborately and meticulously planned out and ranges from heists to prison breaks. The first part is only 5 episodes, but they've already announced that the second part of the story is coming. Anyways, I already admitted that this video was partially meant to buy me time to finish other ones, so I don't really have anything else for you. Everything I recommended is great and gets the SteveSekai seal of approval. It's all well worth your time. If you want me to talk about any of these shows or movies in their own video, feel free to let me know down below. Should I review more Korean content? What I've seen has been good so far, so I'm down for it. What K-dramas should I and other people check out? Basically, just comment something for engagement is what I'm saying. Oh, and subscribe. And twitch.tv/SteveSekai, twitter.com/SteveSekai, patreon.com/SteveSekai. That's the most important one. Bye!